All right, Craig, take it away.
All right, thank you. So, can everyone see my slide? What to expect? Or here we go. There we go.
Got it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So this evening, I talked it over with Davis, and we decided a good topic would be to cover macOS Monterey, which hasn't been released. And I wanted to point out that this is actually kind of a very unusual time because Apple had stuck with their macOS 10 naming convention for over a decade. And now, the current operating system is macOS 11, which is Big Sur. And with Microsoft coming out with Windows 11 earlier this week, both Apple and Microsoft are both at 11 for their operating system. But it's probably going to be for a short time here because Monterey will be macOS 12, and then Apple will move ahead. So, with Monterey, I just want to point out that Apple talked about it during their public worldwide developer conference, and they've got a webpage out there at apple.com, macOS Monterey preview. So if after this meeting you've got any questions, you can check out that website. And Apple likes to give a slogan to each of their operating systems, and it gives us a slight clue on what might be coming. And here, Apple's calling Monterey high-powered meets high everyone. And if you want to see Apple talk specifically about Monterey, when you go to their Apple events June 2021, which is their Worldwide Developer Conference, about an hour and 20 minutes, and Craig Federighi goes through some of the main features. And then also, if you're daring, you could sign up for the beta program and actually run it on a device. It's still, as you'll see from this presentation, there's still a lot of features that have been announced that aren't really fully there. So, and even tonight in getting ready here, I tried to go out to a webpage to download Zoom, and I just couldn't get anything to load until I did restart the computer. So probably better to wait until it's released and see what people are saying before you install it. But tonight I'm going to go through and go through some of the features for it. And one of the big trends I picked up from Monterey and what's going on is I really felt like, much like with iOS, where Apple and macOS share a lot of features, I really got that sense that these OSs, both iOS 15 and Monterey, are really made for the times. Like, I think a lot of the Apple engineers spent the past year kind of seeing what working from home and being apart was, and they really came up with some interesting features, particularly to address, keeping people socially together when we're apart. And so I feel like that's a big theme of Monterey that we'll see, whether it's share play across devices, across distances, enhanced collaboration through what they've done with FaceTime and messages, and also just kind of stoking on, times in the past when we were all together and taking trips and so on, that they really are throwing in some things to kind of help with nostalgia, to think about the past. And then particularly with working from home, they've had some, as people have their work and well, if they're working from home or living at work, it feels like they've had some features with focus and being able to use the different screens that are around you to be a little more productive through AirPlay, and then through a really exciting feature called Universal Control that I'll go over on how you can actually use your devices not just as AirPlay screens, but also work across them. And then finally, a big theme of this OS is it's the first OS that was released after the M1. Well, I guess it's not the first one. Big Sur was it, but they've had some time to really add on performance and tweaking and make it work better on the Apple Silicon. So I just want to kind of go over if you've not already upgraded to Big Sur, it's been out for almost a year. I just wanted to touch on a couple of features that were new to Big Sur that obviously will now be part of Monterey as well. And that was that the naming convention changed from the 10 dot format to integer numbers, 11, 12. And that also Big Sur was the first to support Apple Silicon, which brought with it its ability to run iOS apps. That they kind of redid the menu bar with Control Center. That to me, it looks like there's a lot more spacing in the menus. And then also there were some new system preferences added, including energy saver becoming battery and wallet, and Apple Pay being introduced. And if you had yet to upgrade to Catalina, so the new features that came with that was the end of security related around kernel extensions, that iTunes was kind of blasted apart into music, TV, and podcasts. That also that feature with iTunes of using it to manage your iOS device was moved into the Finder, and that some new applications like Find My and Screen Time were added, as well as Sidecar, that ability to use your iPad as an additional display, but still, if you've got like Apple Pencil, you could work directly on the screen. And then also Apple got rid of some legacy things like 32-bit apps and dashboard widgets. And then a big behind the scenes change was it was during Catalina that they broke the data apart to have separate volumes. It's all hidden, but Apple broke apart your personal data from the system data. All right, next I'll just kind of give you some ideas when you're ready to upgrade to Monterey. Just to keep in mind that the compatibility requirements, this isn't all of them, but I just kind of included most of the consumer stuff. So Apple's doing a pretty good job of looking back about 6 or 7 years in terms of all the Macs that they released. And kind of the cutoff line was back in 2013 and early 2014. You can see that with the MacBook Air, the mid 2013 and early 2014 could run Big Sur, but they won't be able to run Monterey going forward. Same thing with iMac 2014 and 2015, and then MacBook Pros 2013 and 2014. To know if you're ready for Big Sur, technically the requirement is 4 gigabytes for Intel. That seems really tight. So definitely want to have 8 or more. Obviously, an M1 will be fine. And then before you download the OS installer, make sure that you've cleared off at least 50 gigs or more, just to give you space to download and then go through the installation. And really at this point, it's not recommended that you have rotational storage. You really want to be running a Mac with a solid state drive, and maybe you can get by Fusion. And again, for your software compatibility, no 32-bit apps. You can go into the system information and sort under the software heading. You can then see a column for whether or not applications are 32-bit or not. And a great website is Roaring Apps in order to, they'll list out all kinds of different applications and then let you know if those developers are ready for the new operating system. And in terms of whether or not to put the cart before the horse or not, the recommendation is to update your applications before you do the OS upgrade, rather than going ahead with upgrading the OS and then searching around and finding out which apps don't run. you'll just have a smoother process if you do it all that those steps. Now, generally, you know, because of those splits between the system and user data, it's getting harder and harder to make a good backup that's going to be fully bootable in case you run into issues. It's getting kind of hard to do that, but so you really should probably, it's probably not really the effort to do that anymore. If you really want to get the ins and outs of backing up your Mac, I'd recommend, you know, from Tidbits or their line of books for the Mac, which the group has a discount on, and that is to take control of backing up your Mac. Instead, I would recommend, you know, if you've got external drive, focus on moving your personal files and your important files off to the other drive. And then also make sure that, you know, if you've got a licensed software or special third-party application installers that you installed that is software that you didn't get out of the Mac App Store, it's a good time to make sure that you've got those at the ready if you need to reinstall those applications. Generally, then, if you aren't doing a clean install, you're just doing an install in place, you're most likely going to be installing the operating system out of the software update system preference. So it'll just pop up one day when Apple announces it, and then you can click that upgrade now button. I do have a recommendation. When that time comes, make sure to disconnect all your peripherals and external monitors that you can. So basically, I'm saying if you've got a laptop, just have your power and your network and disconnect anything else. And then obviously with iMac, you want to go with the Apple peripherals and not any extra drives. And definitely disconnecting external monitors, just so you don't have any driver conflicts, and adds additional uncertainty of what might be causing an issue if you do have an issue during the upgrade. And then after you've done the install, then you want to reconnect those peripherals and external displays, respond to any prompts if something's telling you that software is incompatible or you need to re-sign into your Apple ID. Then one of your first steps should be run software update again, get any little patches or fixes that Apple may have missed with the original release, and get off to a good start. And then if there's a relocated folder, I guess kind of spelling there, items folder, you want to look through that, see, should be on your desktop, and I'll let you know what didn't make the move. And then just go through and make sure any important applications are working. You don't want to get caught getting a Zoom invite and then not be able to respond to it. All right, any questions or any comments about that so far? Yeah, sure. What's up, Frank?
One question. I don't know if this happened in Monterey or if it happened with FaceTime, but is it able, are we able to share a screen on group FaceTime in Monterey?
Yeah, in Monterey, yes, and yeah, I've got a slide on that kind of shows it. It's not something that unfortunately, doing this virtual presentation, I can't show you as well as I could in the room, but I'll at least have an image about that.
Okay.
So you can look forward to that. Yes, Susan?
I have a question about how this separation of the data and the system works. I know that it's relevant to today, but maybe some other time you can explain that more carefully. Because
yes,
you know, about if I get a new hard disk, do I have to partition it? Did the volumes separate? I don't really understand how any of that is working these days.
Yeah, that really should be in the background, and you will find that if you go into disk utility, you'll see a partition that might be called Mac-HD and then another one called Mac-HD-data. And what's going on there is that Apple's trying to have a very secure, untouched, pristine operating system. And then any of your personal data, it's trying to push off to another volume. And so that's going to have some advantages going forward that eventually you might be able to, just update the system without it touching your data and so forth. So that really should be behind the scenes, and don't be tempted in disk utility to delete one of those volumes and not the other, because they are kind of linked together.
So if I get a new hard disk,
Yeah.
and I want to keep an old system on it as well as the current one, do I partition? Do I use different volumes?
That is a technical question, and so, but we're the tech SIG, so I'll gather
well,
that. So,
you know,
so yeah. The real recommendation is that, maybe 3 years ago, I think with what was it? Oh, I had 10.13, which would have been High Sierra. Apple changed file systems. The file system used to be HFS, and then they went to the Apple file system. Let's abbreviate APFS. And that had a lot of advantages to it. And one of those advantages is that when you go to partition and drive, it used to be with HFS, if you wanted one to be 400 gig and another to be 400 gig, that took up 800 gig. Now with APFS, it's able to share a lot of resources and not give up that, not size that information fully. And so what you really want to do is you want to go into this utility and create a new volume within the same Apple file system container. So they use this term container, and then I'll share the data. And then you're welcome to install a second, another version of a different operating system within that same container. And then when you boot up, depending if it's an Intel computer, you can hold down Option and then switch between boot up drives. Or if it's a new Apple Silicon, you hold down the power key.
Yeah.
It'll give you some boot options.
When I went into disk utility a couple of days ago, I was seeing something called snapshots, or maybe that was reading somewhere else.
Yeah. So snapshots is a feature of APFS, the new file system, and what that does is it's able to just kind of take a snapshot of how your system was at that time, and then you can restore back to it. Kind of
something like Time Machine.
Yeah, something like Time Machine, but without us.
Windows.
Yeah. I think Windows has had that feature for a while. And then another thing, particularly with Big Sur and Monterey, is that to be even more secure, your Mac doesn't even boot up off of the operating system on the hard drive and work on it. Instead, what it does is it just works off of the snapshot, which is kind of a read-only version of your operating system. So that prevents any malware from rewriting the system in some permanent way. That's the hope. That's the goal. And so it really makes our operating system increasingly more secure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Craig, when that operating system is split, the drives are in two different places. Okay, like I'm looking at Luminar, I'm looking at a couple of graphic programs that stick files in the library under app, blah, blah, blah. So, and a lot of that is, like books, and some pictures are in there and everything. So it starts to swell, and it's a tiny, tiny fraction of the terabyte drive that you have.
Okay.
So does that create issues, or does it leak into the other side, or?
I don't think so. I don't think I would say that causes issues. I think, so what you've got on the system that's really mostly just read only. And so when you're adding your files and your pictures and so on, it's being added to the data side the data volume. But then, and same thing with, all the standard applications that come with the operating system, like photos and mail and so forth. Those sit on the system so that if you ever need to start fresh again, you'll have fresh copies of that. But then as you add your own personal applications to it, that goes into the data side. But there's all kinds of kind of like aliases and shortcuts, and more specifically, what's called firm links that try to weave those together so that when you go to look in a folder, it looks like they're, to us in the Finder, it looks like they're all in the same folder, but in actuality, they're kind of separated across the two volumes. So, but I think I trust Apple that they figured this out, that it's probably not, and I really haven't heard too many problems with this. They've done a good job at kind of keeping all the nitty gritty hidden.
Okay.
Right. Hey, Roger, I see you've got your hand up.
Hey, Craig, do you suggest doing a clean install of Monterey rather than just migrating, especially if you've had lots and lots of operating systems on in the past? Would you be better off just doing a fresh install?
No, I mean, it's so odd to say this now, Roger, but no, I would say, there's, you obviously want to do a clean install, or I mean, there's a desire to do a clean install to keep things nice and clean and so forth, but you're actually going to just wind up with more work trying to bring back everything that was in your backup onto that clean drive, and you're gonna eventually kind of wind up feeling like you're trying to get a square peg into a round hole.
So just basically just plug in your Time Machine backup.
Yeah,
and store it
make
that
sure.
way.
Yeah, the best advice is to do a Time Machine backup before you pull the trigger and start the update. Do a Time Machine backup, and again, any files that you want that are really important, maybe copy those off separately to another drive in addition to your Time Machine backup. So what I'm getting at is focus more on your personal data and backing that up, and a little less on your applications and libraries. Because the matter of the fact is that the way this Apple file system works is that it writes everything first before it destroys any of the old stuff. And so, it's going to know before your data is removed if it doesn't have a nice copy or a nice write of the fresh data.
Okay, great.
And so.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome, sure. All right, so I'll continue here, the tour of Monterey. So I'm going to go through some of these major features that are coming along here. Obviously, I can't cover everything, but I'm just going to touch on some of the more interesting ones. The first one is FaceTime audio. Again, with kind of the theme that I picked up on. Apple's really working hard to let us have a sense of social interaction, even when we're stuck behind our computer screens. And so one of those is that they're adding spatial audio, which makes a lot of sense. That if you're in a conversation like we are here, maybe Roger will be to my far right and Frank's kind of off to my left. And so as they speak, and if you've got headphones or and speakers, then you'll actually hear them coming from different directions instead of everyone sounding like they're straight ahead. Then, but I do want to call out kind of strangely that some of these FaceTime features are actually located in Control Center and not in the FaceTime application. such as mic, what's Apple's calling mic modes. So another good feature is voice isolation mode. That is that your computer is going to try to work harder to isolate your voice and remove the background noise that might be around you from the dog or just non-vocal sounds. So your speech will come across cleaner in webcasts and collaboration. But on the flip side, maybe you don't want to focus on voice. Maybe you want to share some music with somebody, or you want, or maybe, I don't know, maybe a grandchild or a little baby. You want that to be heard better, or maybe you're playing a voice recording for somebody. And I guess those aren't the best examples, but anyway, if you're playing an instrument or something, you want to hear the full spectrum, and so the processor and the operating system are going to try to do a better job at conveying that, which I think would be great for maybe remote learning and music teachers. Likewise for audio, they're also doing some enhancement for video. One feature, and that is kind of the thing that you could expect with Monterey, is I'll kind of call out some features that are Apple Silicon, which is currently the M1 specific, but one is blurring your background in FaceTime. And then, leaving a clear view of your face, but less of the environment behind you. And then more of a constant grid view. So previously the thumbnails of speakers would randomly organize and expand when someone's talking. Now they stay at a consistent size, but if you see over here, it's going to kind of do a little pop out border around whoever's speaking. And you can get up to 18 additional speakers. And they're expanding FaceTime probably to keep up with Zoom and Teams. So now it used to be FaceTime was like a phone call. It came in real time, and if you missed it, then you missed it. But now Apple's including some features that you can better plan doing FaceTime. So you can send links out to others, and then these links will work through a web browser. So people on Android or Windows can just join through the web browser or a tablet. And then also within the calendar app, you can integrate sending out FaceTime meetings. And then also a big feature is SharePlay. So I don't know, did I have a slide about, you will be able to share your screen now through FaceTime as well. Do you want to call that out? And then with SharePlay, this is where people can get together in FaceTime and then watch the same show. And so people can pause it. I'll pause for everyone. You'll be able to hear other members, talk during the viewing. And so it's kind of like having a watch party with everyone remote. And you'll find that their SharePlay pops up in a lot of the different applications. And then, so you just start a FaceTime call, and then you can start doing this SharePlay. Yeah, here we go. There's a slide where it shows that you can share a window on your Mac out, and then everyone FaceTime can see it. I remember last year, maybe 15 months ago, asking Apple if they had any, if the Apple employees used any tools for collaboration, if they use their own tools like Messages and FaceTime. I know they said no, they use like WebEx and I forget what else, but so it looks like Apple's kind of writing some stuff for their own use. In addition, same thing with Messages. They've added some enhancements, particularly around photos. They're kind of nice that now if someone sends you several photos and messages, they'll get kind of stacked together in like a collage or a fan, and then you can deal with them together to either save or or flip through them instead of taking up a lot of space in your feed of messages. You'll find that that within messages, there's a new tab called Shared with You. So you'll find throughout different apps like Photos and News and Podcasts and Safari and the Apple TV app, that when somebody shared like a podcast with you through messages, then when you go into the podcast app, you'll see what was shared with you. So it kind of pins it for you. And same thing, if someone shared some photos, there's now a special section, Photos app, or if someone shared a news story and so forth. All right, the next feature I'd like to talk about is focus. And this is kind of building off of Do Not Disturb. And Do Not Disturb is still in there, but what Do Not Disturb does is it blocks any interruptions based upon, maybe during certain times or something like that. So it's not real granular or adjustable. So with Focus, Apple adds some additional conditions that you can set to that. So that instead of like blocking everything out, now you can say, yeah, I do want some quiet time, or I do want some focus time, but that means that if I'm focused on work, I want my boss to be able to get through to me, but maybe not, but not my insurance salesman or somebody asking me to update my, to refinance my mortgage. So you're able to set some conditions around who can get to you at certain times. And it can also be based on location. Maybe if you go to the gym to work out, then that just changes your priorities on who you want to be able to reach you. And it's built into the notification system pane that used to be there. So let me go ahead, see if I can pull that. So you can see here, notifications, now it says notifications and focus. And there's now a tab in addition to notifications called focus. And then you can come in and you can kind of set these up. So there's Do Not Disturb, and then you can set that for certain times to turn on automatically. And then you'll see that there's some, you can set either people or apps that you want to maybe pierce that. And then if you're a little more, if there's a certain time during the day that you just want to have to yourself, then you can set up something maybe like mindfulness, or a separate one for Saturdays. Or for work, you might want to allow your spouse or coworker or others, and then you want to allow productivity apps to work. So it just gives you better control. And again, I think that this is probably inspired a lot by the work from home that we have to now kind of using our computers to do work, but also need some breaks. And down here, I hope you can see there's a box for clicking Share Focus Status. So now, instead of people just seeing that you're away or unavailable, these apps, and currently it's just the Apple apps, but we hope that third parties will have access to this too, that they can respond to people that are trying to reach out to you and get a notification that you're around, that you just aren't available at this time. So, and again, you can come in and they've got some pre-populated for like custom or gaming or personal reading time. So that's focus. There is one, the sleep focus can only be controlled by the phone, not iOS. And then also in terms of allowing people, you have to go with contacts, people that are already in your contacts. So this is what that shared focus looks like with messages. I'm trying to show here, Evan has notification silence with focus. So it's not that you're being rude, it's just got a different focus. Now, one of my most favorite features of Monterey, and was also a feature of iOS 15, is live text. So this is really exciting. So Apple, we're used to thinking of computers having a GPU and a CPU, hard drive and memory. But Apple's been adding a lot of new chips. You know, when they added the Touch ID to computers, they added a T2 chip that did some interesting things. And one of the things that Apple likes to talk about is adding machine learning and Apple machine accelerators and things like that. And those aren't processors that we're used to using in our apps, but one of the functions that unleashes is this live text and what this is now when you see an image or text embedded in an image, you can treat it as selectable text. So even the image, you can just go ahead and tap on it and start selecting it. Then you can copy it out, or you can use it to, if you're looking at a picture of the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, you tap on it and the OS recognizes that that's the Golden Gate Bridge, and it might give you directions to it or give you history about the Golden Gate Bridge. So this is really coming alive. And I don't know if you know that age-old problem where you come across some data that's on a web page or that you really, or you just come across a list of data that you really would like to bring over into Excel spreadsheet or something. Well, now you can just take out your phone or you can just kind of grab it off of an image and then get that data and you can paste it into an Excel spreadsheet. So it's really going to help us a lot with working with data. And I'm really excited about this. I think originally Apple said that this would be M1 only, but I think they later relented and said they would come to Intel as well. Another feature is the AirPlay receiving. So now you used to be able to play things maybe from your computer to your Apple TV over AirPlay. Well, now you'll be able to AirPlay from your phone to your Mac. And so if you see a web page on your phone and you want to have a bigger screen to share that with others, and you don't have a projector and Apple TV, but you do have an iMac or a laptop, a Mac around, you can use that larger screen to share what you're doing. And let me show you that again under System Preferences, go to Sharing. There's now this Apple AirPlay receiver. And then there is some security around there for accidental sharing or making sure that not everyone can hijack your Mac screen. So you know, you can set that to network or just current user or everyone, set a password or something like that. So that just is nice. I think it's also, again, you know, working from home or spending more time at home, that it lets us take better use of the screens that are around us. Safari is just really messing around a lot, and I don't have a lot to say about this because Apple's kind of going back and forth on this, but I would recommend that you watch the video of the announcement here because Apple's trying to do more with like tab bars and moving around the coloring and so forth of Safari, but just for a matter of time, I'm just going to breeze through that. The one thing I will mention is that they are adding, if you've got an iCloud account, that they are adding some extra privacy, so they'll be harder to track you by trying to relay your network traffic through Apple servers or Apple vendors. So it makes it much harder for when you visit a website for them to know where you're at or as you move between sites that it's still you. Apple's also offering Hide My Email, which allows you when you need to sign up or create an account to access a site, like sign up for access to a site, then you can sign up with the Apple email that obfuscates your actual email address, but you still have access to it. They're also giving unlimited HomeKit secure video. So this would be a camera that can leverage HomeKit. And then also they're going to allow you to adjust if you've registered your own domain and you've got a mail server. Instead of being stuck with an Apple ID that uses iCloud, you'll now be able to use that personalized domain. So this is what Hide My Email kind of looks like. So instead of sharing, your name at iCloud.com, you're now able to sign up with a different, non-personalized email address, and it'll still get routed back to you, and you can assign a label so that you can remember what that was used for. Another feature that is shared with iOS and actually was introduced on iOS before it came to macOS is shortcuts, which is an automation capability. And this is actually still pretty rough in the beta, so we're not sure what that's going to look like, but looks pretty similar to what you may have seen on iOS, where you get these colorful buttons and you can kind of choose what you want. And some of these don't work, but let's do what's a shortcut. So what's a shortcut? A way to use your apps without opening them. Every shortcut is made of actions. Give one a try. And so what this does is it's kind of like if you've ever dabbled with Apple Script, where you're able to use functions within a macOS app. It allows you to tap into those functions without having it to actually launch or run the app. So the nice thing though is if you develop a shortcut that you like a lot, you can move it into your menu bar, and then, oops, yes, Zoom is getting in the way a little bit. I don't know if you see that, but now it adds a shortcut app to your menu bar, and then you can get to those even faster. Maps for M1 users has a new globe to it. Go out far enough. Now I have a globe to kind of look around, which is nice. And then also it has improved driving information like road hazards. And one feature that I like a lot is let's see. Is that if you want to go someplace, you can now do plan or now. And so oftentimes I kind of like to explore directions before I actually go there. And it was always a pain to have to change the arrive or leave settings. So I like that plan. Just kind of streamlines it a little bit. And then also, if you're searching for something, it's now going to include information on whether or not that business is open, or only give you results for businesses that are open. I don't know if they say ice cream or something like that. It'll only give you 24-hour Baskin Robbins. So,
Yep. Greg, if
yes.
Can you put multiple addresses for one trip in Maps?
Okay. Yeah, like maybe a waypoint or something, like if you need to make a stop off.
Yeah, well, I go to garage sales in Elgin.
Okay.
So I have multiple addresses and I just make a map. I would like to be able to do that. I haven't been able to do that yet.
Oh yeah. I'm not aware of that functionality if they've got that. So I apologize.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to be able to do that. I wish Google Maps would include it if Apple doesn't, but.
Yeah. What was it? MapQuest back in the day let you do that. Have multiple locations. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe MapQuest had a patent on that or something that prevented others. But yeah, that is really useful. All right, so this next one has yet to show up in any betas. So, and it would be pretty hard to demonstrate it real life, or I mean, virtually here. Let me see though. I apologize. I thought I had it's all queued up, but it looks like Chrome quit on me. So let me apologize if that's loud. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna play this segment.
There's no sound.
So Susan, can you hear that when it plays?
No,
Oh, I
Okay.
can't.
All right. So I apologize for that. So maybe that's. I believe I tried turning that on here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll just narrate this a little bit. So here's Craig with an iPad and a pencil here, and then you can see he's got his iPad, a laptop, and an iMac here. And now he's going to use the trackpad on the laptop, and he just pushes it all the way to the right. And the laptop knows that the iPad is sitting to the right of it. And then his mouse cursor continues on over to the iPad. And now he's actually able to move the cursor back and forth between the iPad and the laptop screen. And now he's going to actually grab a photo, I believe, off of his iPad. And I'm not sure what he's talking about here. And so, so again, you know, he doesn't have to pair a trackpad or a keyboard to the iPad. It's just able to use built-in. He's able to drag that image off of the iPad and into a document on his laptop. And then additionally, he's got one new M1 iMac to the left of the desktop, or I'm sorry, of the laptop. And then he's able to go over and use now a different mouse, and he pushes it all the way to the right. It knows that the laptop is there, and then he's able, or he actually went all the way to the right onto the iPad, and then drag something all the way from the iPad across the MacBook Pro and onto his iMac there. So that's universal control.
Craig, could that, if you had your iPad and you had with universal control, can you work stuff on the Mac like a tablet, like a drawing tablet?
You know, they didn't show that. So you're saying like with your pencil.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you know, they kind of showed off the best features there, but yeah, there's probably a lot of things that we'd like to do that there wouldn't be a good way to do that, because it's, you know, I guess with Sidecar though, if you're familiar with Sidecar would allow you to extend your Mac desktop onto your iPad, and then you're able to manipulate content with the pencil. And so, So like if you wanted to sketch something on an iPad, you'd be able to use Sidecar and do that. But universal control is kind of, instead of extending the display, you're still using the built-in apps and whatever's going on the iPad. And then you're just moving the content back and forth. So yeah, I think it's a little too early to know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great thought though. I'm kind of thinking ahead. I had to throw in this slide because wait a second, we're talking about a OS upgrade, an operating system upgrade, and operating systems are all about manipulating files and running applications, right? So I wanted to include some improvements in the Finder, the original part of the OS. And one of those is now when you're, with solid state drives, everything's so fast that you really don't have to wait if you're duplicating a file or copying a file on the same drive. But it's still pretty slow when you're copying between a USB drive or a little flash drive. And now the Finder will allow you to actually pause those transfers, those copies, and then click again and resume them. So that's kind of nice. And then also, in the Finder, there's the go to folder. And I don't know that a lot of people, I apologize, it's stuck on a different screen. So that's too bad. But if you wanted to, instead of having to navigate through all the GUI and the folders and windows and so on, if you knew a path to a file that was kind of buried deep, you could go under the go to folder, and then you could type in that path and get right to it. But you had to be very precise in the spelling and knowing that path very well to get there. Now it does autocomplete. So as you navigate through folders, it will start suggesting the contents of those folders. So that's a big help. And then another one was, particularly with Sidecar, if you were dragging a big old Mac window with a big Mac display onto the iPad, all of a sudden the edges of the window would be too big, and it was hard to move that window around. Or if you had a large monitor connected to your small laptop, sometimes you lost the edges of your windows, and so it was kind of hard to work with them. Now, as you drag a large window to a smaller display, it will shrink the window a little bit to make it easier. And then going back, we've talked a little bit about splitting the hard drive. In kind of an unexpected place, I'm in System Preferences. Here's the System Preferences menu. There's now a command called Erase All Contents and Settings. And that's a common terminology on iPad and iOS, but now it's come to the Mac. And likely what that means is that if you were to give away your Mac to as a hand-me-down, or you're going to sell it on eBay or something like that, with this command, you're able to erase all of your personal content, files, and settings while leaving a file system in place, so that you don't have to completely wipe the drive. The next owner could have a bootable system and immediately start using it. Or more likely, Apple's really big in education. This probably really helps out schools and running labs and having a handoff Mac laptops between students that they can quickly just wipe off the students' information. But yeah, be careful going with that one. So I don't want to, this presentation's already kind of long, so didn't want to spend too much time, but there are some updates on applications. So I just kind of grabbed just some of the new ones. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but like with reminders, it used to be you complete a task or a reminder and it would just stick around forever. But now you can delete complete tasks. Voice memos, it's going to have a button where the operating system analyzes the the voice recording, and if there were some silences, you'll be able to skip over those silences without having to listen through them. Photos is promising to has a lot of features, but I just didn't want to go into them here. But one of them is improved face recognition and corrections for misidentified people. And then also it's got this memories function that's supposed to kind of, again, tap on some nostalgia, kind of pull in some groupings of photos and audio for them. Notes introduces tagging and mentions and linking, which will allow for better sharing and collaboration of your notes that you write. Find My might be, it's probably really helpful to little people, but if you're a little skittish, might be a little scary. But used to be if you were expecting, like my parents were driving up from Florida and they'd call us and tell me that they just had lunch and they'd be up in a couple hours, and so we're scrambling to clean the house. So I'd be constantly kind of checking in to see where their location is. And Find My would just kind of sporadically update the location, but now it's promising more of a live location where you can actually see people move real time. And then the media apps, so that's podcasts and photos and music and so forth, has a lot more collaboration through Shared With You and SharePlay. Just some nice tweaks that wanted to call out was that when you're running applications in full screen, you either had to kind of choose whether or not you want full screen, or you have to drag the cursor up to the top of the screen and wait a while for it to realize that you intentionally and deliberately wanted to see the menu bar. Now you'll be able to leave the menu bar in place while you run full screen mode. There's now a hot corner for quick notes. I thought I had it active here, but this was a big deal on iOS, but it's also on macOS to have a little notepad where you can, I guess it's kind of like old Scratchpad, old Macintosh OS. They can keep pictures and links. The system preferences now has a password, password manager there for better consolidating where your passwords are. And in the login window to your Mac, you can now have an emoji of yourself, kind of personalize it, instead of having to go with Apple's. They've had those images forever, like an 8-ball, eagle, gingerbread, yin yang, coin, lightning bolt. And then in one only, you can have indefinite on-device keyboard dictation, which means that you can just talk and talk and talk, and it'll write it all down for you. And then as a security feature, if your microphone is live, it'll add a little orange dot. I'm not sure if you can see that up there. There's a little orange dots on there. And that's it. Were there any questions or anything that didn't make sense? Or?
Go back to the last slide.
Okay.
The passwords.
Yes.
Does that suck the Safari passwords in there?
Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah.
And if I have other passwords in like a 1Password app?
Right. Yeah, so it won't suck those in, but it would replace it. Or if you wanted to save some money and not go with 1Password and their Electron app, then you could use that. So it's now, whereas Safari passwords was, after you visit a site, it would add a new entry. That passwords system preference, you can actually go in and add all your notes and add new passwords to it. And there's some sites that might have this one-time password or a time limited password that's only good for a minute or something like that. That's not built into it, as well as there's some ways of authenticating that use like a QR code that's supposed to be part of this password system preferences too.
Okay.
So it's doing a little bit of what's called sure locking of like LastPass or 1Password, but obviously it's a light version. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, if I had to say that I had a favorite feature, I think there's something called data detectors that was introduced a long time ago, where you might be writing email and or reading email, and you'll see like a date and time, and you hovered your cursor over it, it would say, oh, well, do you want to create a calendar event? Or you hover your cursor, it says, oh, this is a phone number, do you want to create a contact? I feel like this is kind of the next step in that you kind of is smart enough to identify photos or identify text and picture. And I think it makes computer a better computer.
So, question.
Yeah.
There's still no love for the for contacts or any new features in mail?
Yeah, I didn't, let's see. I think, let me refer to my notes here, that for mail, I touched on the mail privacy protection and the hide your IP address. I guess that there's something about a new extension format that's supposed to help with third-party mail plugins. I'm not real familiar with that. And then let me see about contacts.
That mail privacy thing, is that like a VPN light?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain features of it that sounds like a VPN, but yeah, I'm sorry, George, I don't really see much about contacts that's changed, but yeah, so it is VPN in the sense that it's supposed to, I mean, VPN is really meant to make a secure connection between your computer and a company computer or whatever. And one of the side benefits is that it anonymizes you. But yeah, that hide my and the email, the relay, iCloud Plus relay, is just that side effect that it kind of aggregates your information with all the other Mac users, so makes it harder to pick you out.
Okay. By the way, you guys were talking about multiple stops. Waze does actually allow you to.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good feature, Waze. Thanks for mentioning that. Excuse me. Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of rumors about what the next Macs are going to look like. And I kind of felt like the rumors were a little, and I'm kind of curious what other people's perspectives were, but I kind of felt like the rumors seemed a little off with the iPhone 13. Like there was kind of some last minute rumors about maybe satellite phone or I forget what other things that they're predicting. And obviously those didn't come true, or, flat, or I mean, well, I guess they're right about the flat sides, but just how big the bump was. I don't know that anyone really thought that was coming.
Folding, they thought a folding phone.
Yeah, folding phone, right? Or maybe that there'd be Touch ID built into the screen.
Right. That would be Touch ID built into the screen in a 5-day, or at least give me a 3-day battery life.
Yeah.
Nice. Because to me,
Yeah.
I'm just like, if the battery doesn't increase, I'm not getting the battery, and the Touch ID would make me buy another phone.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I upgraded from a 10S to the 13, and I'm very happy with the battery improvements. With it's actually a 13 Pro. That's one of my favorite features of phone after 2 weeks is the battery. But yeah, you just can never get enough battery. But at the same time, we all want better performance, better camera too that drains the battery. But anyway, so I wanted to throw out some of my wild. So here are some of the rumors I've been hearing about the next Apple Silicon laptop, and maybe you've heard them too. That they're going to drop the touch bar, that they're going to add in HDMI ports, and that SSD card slots coming back, and that seems to really, to me, I never feel like Apple completely regresses on stuff. I mean, they did go back to the scissor switch keyboards off of the butterfly. But here, I'm just going to throw this out. This is my own speculation. But did you notice with the iMac in April, did you notice, and it makes sense because it's so thin, that they didn't include the Ethernet jack in the back of the computer, and almost because that, what is it, RJ11, is that what it's called, or is it RJ45 plug is so thick that it would actually thicken the whole computer. But does anyone remember what they did? They
made a dongle, right?
They put the Ethernet port in the power adapter, so they moved the power supply out of the iMac, and then it plugs into the wall, and then it plugs.
You know why?
Yep.
The reason why is because basically they make one computer now and just change slight configurations on it.
Right. So here's what I'm guessing that occurred to me. I wonder if they do come back with HDMI, and this doesn't make a lot of sense, I admit, but I wonder if they're going to add those HDMI or Ethernet to the power adapter of the laptop then, rather than, you know, poking more holes that have increasingly been going away in the sides of the laptop. Or what they do is they make it where it's kind of an upgrade option, where if you want to pay more for more ports, then you just buy a more expensive power adapter that then is kind of like a dock to that or something like that.
Yeah, but remember, he doesn't want more SKUs.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been adding more and more SKUs of iPhones, though.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the way I kind of reconcile in my mind Apple's clean aesthetics with adding more functionality.
Do you think they may not have an iMac, but they would have a affordable Mac Pro like stand, or even shorter than the Pro stand?
Yeah, so my mind's jumping around to Mac Mini versus, you know, iMac versus, you know, there's rumors of a really half-sized Mac Pro tower. So I'm not sure which way what you've got in mind there, Frank. What you're envisioning there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So
do you have any idea of an ETA from Monterey or any of that?
No. Generally, they've had events in October, but that's less consistent than September events. And then, you know, they didn't have an event with the M1 until November. But yeah, I'm sure probably next 6 to 8 weeks.
And the Mac and the OS will come out at the same time. That's what I heard.
Yeah. You know, that's really what Apple's all about, is the software enhances the hardware, and the hardware gives features to the software. So yeah, that's kind of come together. And then another rumor that I don't like as much is that you know, the current M1 has 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, they're gonna shift that, and they're only gonna have 2 efficiency cores, and then go up to 6 or 8 performance cores. But I don't see that. I think that the efficiency cores are the real advantage to the laptops.
Yeah.
In fact, I kind of did back of the envelope calculations that if you scale up the M1 for as much time as it can go on battery, up to, if you were to give that battery the size of a 16-inch laptop, then you're at 24 hours of battery time. So that would be amazing to have a laptop that can last a full 24 hours between charging. But again, that's assuming that it's only as powerful as the current M1, which of course it won't be. It'll be more powerful, so we won't have 24 hours of battery life. But
you were talking about different things from different machines. I think that touch sensor that's on the some of the iPads is going to make its way to the phone. So we won't get the touch sensor underneath the glass. We'll probably get that button.
yeah, I could see that happening. And then let's see, what else was I thinking? I think for sure what we really saw with the benchmark of going from the iPhone 12 to iPhone 13 is you really didn't see a lot. It was actually really kind of lagging in terms of a performance increase. It's only like 10% performance increase. When you look at the benchmarks for like single core, multi-core benchmark, and that's really low compared to what we've gotten in past years. But what we did see is we did see a 50% increase in the GPU performance and the graphics. So again, I think probably these new laptops, I think maybe it might not be as much of a bump in raw performance, but I think it might do some really things that we haven't thought of in terms of graphical capabilities. Because again, remember the M1 has both the GPU and the CPU cores built into the same chip, and they're both sharing the same memory. So I imagine if they really bump up the GPU performance, that really opens up to like augmented reality and virtual reality, and just capturing the world around us. So and remember too, like the machine learning can do things that you might not expect. Like right now, when you see me, that's the camera capturing images of me, multiple times per second, and then sharing those images with you. But when you start moving into the machine learning and the neural engine things, what it's going to start doing is it's going to like see me, and it's going to create a computer model of what I look like. And now, instead of having to stream all that bandwidth of all these images between you and me, it's just going to stream, here's the model of what Craig looks like, here's the model of what Frank looks like, and then here's how I animate that model. And then all of a sudden, you have like really great images that look better than photorealistic with very little bit of bandwidth. And we could be in big conferences like this, of like 50 people, and there's no stuttering, and there's no freezing of frames or anything like that. So.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. No fuzziness or blurriness to our pictures. So.
What's your feeling on the stability of the Monterey betas right now?
Yeah, it would be really scary to me if it was a public release today.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not very stable, and but then again, yeah, let me back up and say that Monterey is much less of a change as it was going from Catalina to Big Sur. Again, you saw a lot of what I covered are social features, whereas going from Catalina to Big Sur, they changed they tweaked that splitting of the volumes more. They got rid of kernel extensions and went to system extensions, which had big effects on security software and the low level drivers and so forth. None of those big changes are happening between Big Sur and Monterey. So on the other hand, it shouldn't be too scary because they aren't really changing the guts of the operating system a lot with this one.
Craig, sometimes we see Apple make a big change one year, and then the next year they've cleaned up a lot of it, and then we get a big change in the cleanup. Is this the cleanup?
Yeah, I would say it's cleanup. I would say it's what Snow Leopard was to Leopard, and Mountain Lion was to Lion, and High Sierra was to Sierra. Yeah, Monterey is probably I don't know, Little Sur or something like that. So, it's the Big Sur.
Well, I also think about like how stable the betas get, kind of as a proxy for how close we are to launch. So if there's still a lot of stuff that they're trying or walking back or just isn't working, yeah, we got time before it launches.
Yeah, so I forget, I think the first like public beta was available in the beginning of July. And then just today, beta 9 dropped today. So got through nine betas, and it's probably, I think it may have been maybe 8 or 9 days ago that they had beta 8 come out. So
yeah,
you know, at work everyone's asking me, oh, when's the new operating system or the new Mac laptop coming out? And I have to remind them, well, there's rumors that there's an event, and then there's rumors that the event, they're going to announce the laptops. And then even when, as we just saw with the Watch Series 7, they held an event. They talked about the Series 7, but never in the event did they say when they're going to release it for ordering, you know, and, you know, just kind of slipped out, I think, earlier this week. Oh, well, now you can pre-order it. So again, rumors that there will be an event, rumors that there'll be laptops at the event, rumors that once they announce the laptop that they'll say when they're going to release them. So,
are there any rumors about Apple having supply problems?
There's some rumors to the contrary. There's rumors that, or kind of facts that everyone else is having really struggling. Like if you were to go to a Dell website and look at their models, you'd be surprised how many say sold out or not available. But I can tell you that the Apple corporate salespeople are going around telling everyone they can. We've got plenty of M1 Macs. You know, there's no supply problems here. And again, my wife was asking me about this last night. Was, you know, she was asking me why are the car companies having trouble getting chips? And I said, well, that's because when the shutdown happened, all the car companies panicked and they canceled all their orders for the chips. And then they lost their place in line. And now there's real demand for cars because credit is so cheap. And so they're trying to get back into the line, and they're finding that they're way at the back of the line. Well, you know who was at the front of the line? You know who buys all the latest chip making equipment and owns it in the factory? You know, who has, you know, billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank is Apple. So they're the first in line for everything. So that's probably, and honestly, the iPhone 13, we haven't heard too. Well, actually, I can't really say. I don't know if you're to order iPhone 13, what the weight is now, but Apple seems that Apple's the best prepared for this.
Yeah, my clients are seeing like, what is it, 3 to 4 weeks on build to order Mac. I just had a client play something. That's not unusual for something that's not off the shelf.
Yeah. Okay.
So, especially, I mean, my big concern now is shipping, because that's turning out to be like the bottleneck that is hitting everyone. Apple bought its way out of the chip thing, but I don't know if they could buy their way out of shipping. Certainly the iPhone launch, they managed it, but I know a lot of that's air, which is getting the same things. I don't know how Macs go, if they go on boats. or if they're
No, yeah, I think I know Apple, doesn't like to send it by air, but I think most things do come by air. And unfortunately, it's lightweight, high price stuff. So
Right.
so they can get a lot of iPhones on a plane.
exactly.
So, and sell them for lots of money. So
Yeah.
that kind of helps a lot with that problem.
Mhm. So you said that universal control hasn't been out there. Has it been out there for the developer beta?
No,
Nothing.
no, nothing there.
My great fear
And
is that feature, which sounds so cool, they're never going to get it to work, and it's never.
yeah, maybe. Thanks for reminding me, Margaret. So they've already said that SharePlay will not be there day one. Seems very clear that universal control won't be in the first ship. Probably, they'll come in version maybe 12.4 or something like that. So yeah, just do prepare your expectations a little bit. And again, that kind of takes off some pressure of wanting to upgrade to the OS on the first day. And I will call out that Apple made that unusual announcement that with iOS 15 they weren't going to force everyone, because Apple can do something called pulling the code signing of the OS, which means like if iOS 14.3 is out there, all of a sudden they'll stop signing installs of iOS 14.2 to really force people that you have no option to. If you stay, you can stay, but if you're going to upgrade at all, then you have to go to the latest. But Apple did the usual announcement that they were going to allow iOS 14 people to stay on 14 if you wanted, and continue to install 14, and then it was optional to go to 15. They're not saying anything like that so far, that if you want to stay on Big Sur, you can. And I don't think they will. I think with macOS, they'll always want you to be running the latest version, because the touch bar has its own operating system, and it has its own little locks that you can't downgrade the touch bar OS. But I guess if the touch bar is going away, then that would be that option.
True.
All right, well, I guess I'll wrap it up here. So thank you a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining here, and hope it was informative. Okay, good. Yeah, I think this will be a good operating system. There's and again, I think I like that they're kind of focused on social things. I don't know that we'll really use them, but it's I think it's good that they're improving. And again, I think the biggest improvement will be battery life and performance, which isn't a big name feature, but I'm sure that they've tweaked it, like what Susan was saying about.
When's the next TechSig meeting?
Yeah, so this is our second one. Our first one was in May,
Right.
The summer hiatus. So it's supposed to be every other month, so probably in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. That's good to announce that. Topic to be determined. Yeah.
Thanks for putting all this together, Craig.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
Right,
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.